What's up? So after my little bitch fest yesterday, I got up today. I was still in that wake up mode. And I get a phone call and I recognize the number. It's coming out Washington, and it's the number that I usually get contacted by from Win-Win Homes. So I answer the phone. And they proceed to explain that they've got the realtor on the phone also, who is there to explain, who's trying to explain what's going on, what needs to be done, what's going on. Sorry. Anyways, we got to talking, and it was about the whole property line stuff. And they were, they asked me a couple questions about things, and I kind of let them know. I was like, this whole thing is kind of confusing at the moment, because the property maps that I got when I got the house, I got like 2 or 3 different property maps, like I showed in that previous vid. And I was like, neither of those match up. And when the fence went in, it goes along the property line that uses the same property map as the one used for putting in the septic by the plumbers. Well, they had told me that the people who bought the lot, the plot behind my shop, that my shop basically is sitting on, they said that the people, when they were sold it by the last owners, whoever they were, they knew that the 2 buildings were on there and that it was no big deal to them. So they had already made it clear they were already aware of the buildings when they bought the property. And if it was a big deal, then they would have made it an issue of it then. So the owners of that property, the John Casa guy, however you pronounce it, Quesadilla. I'm being a jackass there. When they bought that 1/4 acre lot and the 1/4 acre lot next to it, that's straight back. If I was looking at my shop, his property's behind it, and then the next 1/4 acre lot behind that he owns also. And the realtor proceeded to let me know that I needed to look up somebody who can help me fill out an application to apply for an easement on the shop and the boathouse thing. Well, it's a carport. Because in the paperwork it marks it as a carport. But I kept explaining to them, and this is where my ASD comes in. It makes it really hard for me to explain things to people. And I think I spent maybe, because we were on the phone for almost an hour, and I spent probably 45 minutes of that saying the same thing over and over again, trying to explain it to them. Like, look, the original owner, there's only been 3 owners that I know of. I'm the 3rd owner. If there's an investment company, it probably would have been between myself. That's probably who had it last. And then there was Larry and Albie, which was the very first original buyer. And I explained to the lady, I said, we have proof that Albie Longuera, the original owner, he purchased the home and land in 1966. That's when the home was built and bought. I said, I don't know what the laws and regulations were back then or back in the 80s and stuff like that for down there. But I said, when he bought it as one big giant piece of land in 1966. I said it wasn't, and I was like, and it wasn't until 13 years later that they divided his land up into 4 lots. And I explained to the lady, I said he owned all of that all the way up until 2003, 2004, whenever he passed away. And I sat and told her, I said, the shop and the I call it a boathouse or woodshed type thing. It's a carport in the paperwork. I said it would be, it was grandfathered in because it was already there. So when the law was created, anything that was already existing in those places were legally there. And it was like I kept repeating this, and it's like, look, yeah, and they were explaining to me, they were looking at the plat line maps, and I said, I have the plat line map that they gave to me with the house. I have the map from the plumber. I have the tax lot map, which you can access through Google Earth, where it shows you the lot lines for each lot. And if you go to the right one, you can even find out who owns each lot too. And I sat and explained to her, I said, if I go, I was like looking at that one, which it can be between 10 and 15 feet in either direction from where the line is, which where the line is on Google Earth, Google Maps, like I said, 10, 15 feet in either direction, that would put it either right in the middle of my parking area between the shop and the house, or pretty much right in the middle of my shop. And then, yet the fence line follows exactly to what the plumber's map is. The map that was used to, for the septic. Well, they proceeded to finally tell me straight up, the realtor told me straight out that I have a buyer. So my house is, thank God, being sold. And the only issue that they were worried about was if they bought the place, if they would have to take the shop and stuff down because the other owners, who bought the other property next door might want them to take it down type thing. And I sat there, like, well, one, the people who bought that property, as you guys said, had already acknowledged that they already knew about the buildings there when they bought it. The buildings were already existing there. That's because they were built way back when. And I explained to her that the way the property was broke up, and at the time that it was broke up and all, I said, I don't know how they do that stuff then. Usually they have somebody out there who does the physical land survey type thing. Like, that's what I'm used to. They always have done that. I don't know if they do it by satellite now. I don't know. I know you still have land survey people. They still do it. You see them all the time on the highways, and they go out in the other places too, and they get ready to do residential stuff to figure out, the leveling of the thing. But they asked, well, who did you get your loan through? And I said, well, through Umpqua Bank. And they were like, wait a minute. You got through them. Them and Wells Fargo are generally pretty difficult to get your home loans through. And for them to clear that, because normally they wouldn't, and then that means they obviously know something that we don't. And I said, well, it's right in the Klamath County laws on their website and in the Oregon State website when those laws were passed. And I said, and you have access to the same information I do, showing Albie Longuira, the very first original owner who bought the house in 1966 when it was built, and the land, owned all that before they even divided that up. I explained, because I said to the realtor, I said, they did basically what they do to a lot of farmers in different areas and people who have large properties. The state and county will go in and subdivide their land into multiple plots and then tax them on multiple plots instead of one big one. And Andy, they're trying to fuck with the turkey. But I said that's how they tax farmers out of their homes a lot of times, or even out of their land, forcing them to sell chunks of their land. And the realtor said, "Oh shit, yeah, that's right. They did do that, and they do that now." Like, she realized what I was saying, and I said, when that happened and those laws are written, it says it very clearly on there that the people who owned it and built on that stuff before that law, then what's already there is legally there. What I didn't explain to them, and it was for an example, is like my neighbors, the ones that start dismantling my fucking house. their water well is sitting on another lot. It's on another plot, completely different plot from their actual home. And the last owners had to buy the land around where that well was at, otherwise they wouldn't have had legal access to that well. Like, they would have to get permission from the owners to cross their property to go to their own pump house, that type of thing. It would be trespassing then. So they had to buy the property around all that, because all they owned was that little spot where the well was at. That's the weird shit that goes on here in Oregon. I don't know what they do in other places, but yeah. So, just in case wise, I still have to try and find somebody that can help me apply for an easement for the two buildings. But I also so that's just in case to the whole thing. The realtor had me send her the information that I had from when I bought the house, and then the laws when I looked them right up. And the county, you know, like I said, yeah, in my vid yesterday, that the county isn't going to do the homework for you. They're going to do everything they can to avoid it and all that shit. They don't want any responsibility to it, even though it's on them. Because once the realtor and the Win-Win Homes and all understood what I was saying, after I don't know how long and how many times I kept kind of repeating myself, just having to reiterate differently and give other examples to what I was trying to explain, she knew exactly what I meant at that point. And so yeah, it's like, yeah, everything is already legally in my favor as is right now, because the owners of the other property already knowing and admitting that they bought the property knowing that those buildings are there and not theirs. That type of stuff. Let alone, there's a lot where there's 2 quarter-acre lots. There's another half-acre lot behind that. That's owned by, as I was saying, when it comes to people who owned it, not some company, because I guess it was some company that sold that other guy that plot. There are 3 people that own the house. There's the first original owner who bought it when it was first built, and that was Mr. Laguera. The second one was this Larry guy. I can't remember his last name. His daughter, after he passed away, his daughter ended up inheriting that half-acre lot on the back side of the property. And so I explained that to the realtor. I was like, all the people involved already know where that stuff's concerned, how that works out. I sat there, I was like, the owner of the market knew the previous, like, owner that I knew of the house. I told him, I don't know about any investment company. I just know that the last person that I knew of that owned the house was this Larry guy, which happened to work for the market guy for a while there up until he passed away. And then I had also got to meet the original market owner. So the market's only had 2 owners. I know the first one, or I know the second owner, and I met the first one a few times. And he knew Albie also, who owned my house, because Albie used to work for him also at the market, pricing the produce and fruits and vegetables and stuff. That guy owned the market from like the mid to late 70s or some shit like that, all the way up until 2006, 7, and then that's when Scott, the current owner, bought it. I did a lot of homework when I bought this place. And plus I get curious, and when I start researching shit, I research shit. Like I said, I research it. So after the realtor and them finally understood what I was saying, she kind of helped explain it to Win-Win Homes. And basically, with what information I had, because of the laws, all that stuff, we had proof that all that was there beforehand. The county can't turn a cheek to it, and in essence would have to issue a easement anyways. Whether we apply for one or not, they would have to at that point, because it's grandfathered into law. Those buildings existed when that law went into play. And so yeah, they realize what's being said. It was under the same ownership. And like I told the lady, I said, I don't know what the laws were back then, but in order for him to be able to build that shop, if the buildings have to be an X amount of feet from a property line, then he illegally built the shop there through a contractor and that type of thing. And contractors having to stick by those types of regulations even then, you know, some would turn a cheek to some things at times. I was like, I was like, that building and the other one would have been purely been built illegally altogether, and I don't think that's what happened, because it's in all the paperwork there, like the county, the state, all that. It's in their records. They acknowledge these buildings were there. So those buildings existed before those property lines were put in, and that's at the county's fuck up. The county and the state, the people who created the property lines in 1979. 2 years before I was born. It was like April something of 79. But no, so finally, in that essence, finally got good news. They are under the understanding that if the buyer is following through, then things have to move fairly quickly. I'm still repairing the bathroom. You know, I got to go back down there and finish the bathroom. This time down, because I still haven't been able to get the linoleum and all that stuff yet. This time down, it's probably just to go down long enough, go down, at least be able to get the floor button down to the you know, the new top floor button down, and have that all ready. Do some more cleanup. It's not like there's a whole bunch of shit there. It's just I don't have a whole lot of room in the vehicles that I'm having to use. My Fiat's finally done. I think we get that tomorrow. It's an even smaller car, so it's not like I can get anything. So this time, it's to go down, get the floor buttoned up, and with what I can, make sure the scrapper gets the scrap metal that's there. Excuse me. So that way that's gone. And then I have to make sure I'm down there for the 21st, because I get put in a big donut looking machine. I have to be there for my MRI at the hospital place down there for my spine. I've already had it done for my lower. I've had it done for my neck, and now they're doing it for the mid part of my spine. Each time hasn't been good. It seems like it gets worse. First time, on my lower spine, I've got the tumors there, but it's also crushed in like 3 places. And then in my neck, it's also fucked up. I've shared images of that on previous videos. And so in my middle spine, that's where it feels like I'm being like sawed in half. Like it literally feels like I'm like someone's cut me in half. You don't feel like the whole sawing thing, but yeah, it just feels like my spine's being separated. And then with this added shit with my arm and all this crap going on right now, it's kind of good timing, I guess. But with all the stress and everything, things are going forward. And before I forget, because I got sidetracked, but yeah, the realtor even reiterated to the win-win people that this stuff has to be done by like no later than about the 3rd week of October, because that's when winter kicks in. And you might get a chance as late as, say, mid to late November. You know, there might be a couple breaks in there where you can get out there, but from that point on, you gotta have some serious money to afford having the people go out and have, basically, to be able to afford to clear the snow and then move in. Because you're gonna need something out there, like somebody with a tractor or something like that to clear all the snow just to get to the house. you know, to go the last mile, to say 300 feet. It's not even that. It's probably like 100 and something feet, because the way the driveway curves uphill. If it was a straight line, it'd be like 150 feet or so, between 150 200 feet. And so yeah, that's why I explained it. It would have to get done quickly. I'll look up an easement person. And thankfully, I don't have to pay for anything or anything like that. I just gotta contact whoever I can that can help do it, and then give the information to the realtor, so then they'll take care of it. Because what may end up happening is they might be able to get the other property owner that lives next door, that owns the property that the shop and stuff sits on. Either they'll pay for it or they'll split the cost to have the easement stuff done, which is fine with me. So I get to sit down here tonight, look that stuff up, and given the information that I gave the realtor, I may not need to do that, because the laws and everything's already right there. You know, and like I explained to them, that's why Umpqua Bank even, you know, cleared for the mortgage, because it's all right there. All the information's right there in the realty history of the house, who owned it, who bought it originally, everything. It's all there. And it's like, people are kind of freaking out over nothing. It's like, all it takes is just looking up the laws. And it's like, I do not see myself as being like this. I don't see myself as being a super intelligent genius type person. I feel like, in all honesty, I feel like I'm like more closely to that of the guy off of Idiocracy, and I'm watching people around me who, I guess I have a higher expectation of being more intelligent than I am and more capable. Especially when some of them are doing this shit as a profession. Like it's their career to work in realty and work with land and properties and stuff. That they would be aware of these laws. Like, I shouldn't be the one having to explain it to them and then send them the information. And yeah, the realtor, she's a really cool lady, but yeah, it took me a while to get her to understand that when I sent her the information. It was like, look, there it is. So yeah, I may not even have to get an easement thing done. Because as I said, everything was already grandfathered in. Everything was already in the county laws and state laws for down there, for what's up with that. And so I'll see what I can do with the easement thing, get what information I can there. But yeah, I just got to go down, finish the bathroom, continue getting stuff cleaned out. There's really not a whole ton there. And yeah, looks like my house is actually finally, like, I finally got some good news for once. Like, actual direct news from the realtor, and not just like this bullshit from Win-Win Homes and all. They've been helpful, but not very helpful at all. It's been mostly the realtor through Remax, which I really like that lady. I don't remember her name. But they've been the most helpful through all this. I'm not looking forward to the idea of moving in the middle of winter type thing myself, like having to travel from Oregon to the Midwest type thing, you know, 2,000 something miles away. And it's not so much. The nice thing is I won't have to necessarily tow anything, even though I'm considering, given that it's going to be winter time and I'm having to, my Fiat, like I said, is getting fully fixed. I just got to get an armrest for it now. I'm going to be upgrading that to the 4-door SUV one, or the compact crossover thing, or whatever. I like my Fiat. I can't help it. I love my Fiats. I don't really want to get rid of my little one, but I can't transport my dogs in that little itty bitty clown car, basically. So I'm going to upgrade it to the 4-door. And those have a capability of being able to tow stuff. The little one you can get a tow package for, and you can tow like a motorcycle, an ATV, that type of thing. You couldn't really tow anything bigger than that. But the SUV, I'll have to see, you know what, look up the tow aspect of things, where I might be able to take like just like a little, go get like a little, like a 12-foot travel trailer. So that way I don't have to worry about hotels and stuff like that. I can just pull over somewhere and my dogs and I can go sleep in the little trailer thing. So I've been pre-planning some of this stuff, weighing options out. Even when I've been just kind of losing hope with all this, I just continued to just kind of plan it out. Like, okay, well, the house sells, this is what it's supposed to. We're on a 50-50, so if I don't keep planning things out, then for all I know, my luck, I could end up selling the home and have nothing, like, fuck. And I won't know. I won't have an idea of expenditures for that travel and stuff. Because or let alone plan how I'm going to do it. Well, you know, I'm driving, but will I stay at a KOA, or will I just stay in a little travel trailer thing, or will I just sleep in the SUV or in the car or whatever? So it's that kind of thing. That phone call was quite a bit of relief. Like, I'm getting right, like, to that end zone, and I just got to do what I can not to jinx it, and just keep, you know, like I've been doing, just keep moving forward even when it just doesn't feel like anything's happening. Business wise, I've got a couple ideas, and I actually don't think they're bad at all. I mean, obviously, you know, between the outdoor type restaurant type thing, or a little food cart, or food truck trailer thing, or doing a little mini produce store. I've been watching a couple things, and there's a smell that just lofted over here, and it's just wrong. Like, the wind just kind of blew through a little bit, and it's like, I don't want to say what it smells like, because it's not appropriate. It's way more inappropriate than where I started to almost walk into earlier, or yesterday. But while looking at ideas for, you know, the little produce store, basically the outdoor restaurant, I had stumbled on a couple things that I saw that was like, wait a minute, this actually wouldn't be a bad idea. And it's not just, you know, like, say, like, where I thought about figuring out a way to combine, like, the little mini produce store and, like, the outdoor restaurant thing, you know, combining two businesses. And that can still be the same business, as in one business. It just be one expanding to the other. But there's something else that I had thought about that I realized I can tie into it, and it would basically support both. And kind of along the lines of going ahead and starting like a little group home type thing. whether for, you know, struggling teens or, you know, young adults, that type of stuff that are, you know, they can't really go home to family, they have to get emancipated, that type of shit, or they're stuck living on their own, they don't really have family, those types of things. Because I thought I've been wanting to get like a second house out there to clean up and kind of rent out for, you know, residual income type thing, or whatever you call it. And I was like, you know, I could do something like that and just start like a small group home, starting out with like, even if it's dealing with like domestic violence victims, you know. Sure, they would deal with assistance on living there for whatever the monthly cost is to live there, but having the little produce store and outdoor restaurant type thing, because as is, I'm going to be having some rather large gardens in on the property I plant, whatever home and property I end up getting, because I want to produce as much of the products as possible for the produce store, instead of having to outsource absolutely everything. But I know I myself can't do all these things at once, run all these things at once. And I know there's, you know, employees would be involved. And so one of the thoughts was, it's a pretty big thing. So it's, you know, something I would have to consider in the future, not like here anytime soon. But I know it would be a big help. But those who end up going to stay, say at the group home type thing, they have an option to get a job through the restaurant or produce store, or even in like the garden type stuff, the farming type stuff. That way they can earn an income of their own to a degree, and if they're younger adults and all that, it will help teach them some money management skills, stuff like that. Anyways, folks, just got home, dogs are getting loud, and I hope you guys had, you know, at least enjoy this little update. It's not so much bitching, there's finally some good news involved. So thank you for watching. You guys have a good night.